any startup, if you can't tell me in less than a minute what problem you solve with your business, that's step one. If you don't have that, don't even try to put a pitch deck together.
Hey, welcome to a podcast where dreams meet determination and success is just around the corner. I'm your host, Suzanne Taylor-King, and I'm here to help you unlock the full potential of your business and your life. Welcome to Unlock Your Way with STK. Let's unlock your path to success together. Hello, everyone. Suzanne Taylor-King here for another live stream, the second one in one day today, but I am super excited for this conversation with Andrew Deutsch. Hello, my friend.
Hey, Suzanne. It's great to see you.
You too. It's been a while. We connected in my first days on LinkedIn, and I want to thank you for it being such a warm welcome into some of your connections and some amazing people that I met because of meeting you and Damon and numerous other people. Todd Churches is going to be on my show in a couple weeks. So really excited that kind of getting back to those first people that I connected with on LinkedIn. So really cool introduction I have for you today. Global strategy and marketing, who loves all capital letters in posts and his LinkedIn title. And I will say the strategy first part always intrigues me about what you do. And your company, Fangled?
Yes.
Fangled. Where did that come from?
Well, there are things in this world that are newfangled, and you always wonder if they're going to work. And then there's that old fangled stuff nobody trusts. Well, we're right in the moment. We're fangled.
I love how you made up that word.
We didn't make up that word.
Yeah, I feel like you made up that word.
Oh, come on. I've made up other words. Fangled, it's in the dictionary. Newfangled, old fangled. We just got rid of the old and the new, and we're right in the moment where we need to be.
Perfect.
With things that really work.
Perfect. Before we went live, we were talking about technology, and I'd love for you to share, well, one of your little fancy little things that you put on the screen. That would be really fun. And tell us how you found this tool.
Well, let me keep an eye on you while I tell you the story.
Yeah.
The idea was, in the world was shifting. COVID had hit, and as COVID was starting, everyone was moving to Zoom. I'd been on video conferencing in my international days for almost 15 years, but people were looking for ways to really be able to connect and be memorable to within the meeting. And I found the guys that were the kids on Twitch and all these different places were doing these live streams where they could be relevant and do all sorts of cool stuff. So I looked into how they were doing it. I found an open source piece of software called OBS and a control board, and started to use what's called a virtual camera to be able to use these things in meetings. So for example, when I'm presenting a PowerPoint, rather than death by PowerPoint where you just see it on the screen, I can shrink myself down to the corner of the window and be on the screen and talking and engaging, even though I'm not really in the room with people. So it was a way of adding a little bit of extra, and also since we're in a technical age, showing that we understand the technology or fangled, and it was a great way to really stand out, whether it was in a networking meeting or even giving live presentations with our clients.
Well, that seems like a common theme for you. When I was really doing a deep dive, not only on you, but your company and being memorable. So memorable brands, to me, that translates into memorable people, memorable products, communities, and all of those things. So I think one of the things that stood out about you was that you leaned into your quirky personality, right? you were not afraid to be yourself, whether it was on camera or in your content. How has that really attracted the right clients and network to you?
It's done both sides of the fence. It's attracted people that really want to work with me because they recognize who I am, what I've done, capability, history. It also pushes away people that I don't necessarily want to work with. I know very well that I'm not the right flavor for all tastes. So a lot of times, by showing who you are, and being memorable for whether that's positive or negative, without being, rude, ridiculous, and otherwise. But it really helps for folks to recognize this is somebody I could really work with. I recognize who he is, what he does, the level of creativity, the history, or we're too buttoned up, we're too into whatever it is. This isn't the guy. He's going to be a disruption, and it works well.
Yeah, I can feel that about your brand, and from meeting number one, that really stood out to me. That bravery piece, and I do notice that a lot of the entrepreneurs I work with have a fear when it comes to, being yourself 100% and showing people who you really are. But when it comes to a brand, when it comes to marketing, even when it comes to strategy, let's go there.
Sure.
Because strategy, to me, I was taught a strategy years ago, how to connect with people on Facebook by sending DM messages or using a software to do that. And now it's super popular everywhere. And it didn't feel like me. Ooh, my brand wouldn't do that.
Can we back up one sec, though? Let's talk about the difference between strategy and tactic.
Sure.
Because what you're describing there to me in the language that we use with our clients is a tactic. The strategy is to connect with the right people to be able to grow your business. The strategy is, from a strategic point of view, those are the things that you want to accomplish. And to do that, you chose this tactic, which really took away the humanity of Suzanne that got in the way. So it was a tactic that was tried, a tactic that didn't work. So then what would be the next in that book? How do you personalize? How do you things? This technology of being able to do crazy stuff on the screen, it's not a strategy. It's a tactic to get to the end goal of people recognizing whether we're a fit and whether we can help their business that's stuck grow. So
that's a good distinction, because I think a lot of times, and we had this conversation in the DMs the other day, was, a lot of content and a lot of content creators focus on the tactics, like how to do this, how to do that, do this step 1, step 2, step 3. And really, that's nothing unique. You can Google search that stuff if you know what to look for. And I think what people are looking for truly when it comes to working with a coach or a marketing company or really any service provider, they're looking for how does this person think about XYZ, and what are they going to bring to my thinking? How are they going to improve my thinking? And
we see a lot of real failures. A lot of the issues that we're resolving for our clients is that they're stuck in the tactical mind, but without a core strategy. And you'll say, well, what are the strategies? What strategic goals do you have for your company? And their response is, well, we're going to go to Google and we're going to do an SEO. We're going to do all these things. Well, those are tactics. Before you choose those tactics, what do you want those tactics to actually do for you? Do you want to increase web traffic? Do you want to increase people who reach out to you, inquiries? Do you want to, what is strategically what will help you grow your business? Oh, your goal is to get people to fill out the inquiry pages. Now we can build a proper website. We can do proper Google and other things to make that happen. And it's just, it's amazing to me. It's a language, it's splitting hairs. Someone will say, he's stuck in the semantics, but there really is a difference. You can't choose proper tactics to grow your business if you don't have a strategy in mind.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. And I think one of the mistakes I made in the early days was combining too many different things.
Mhm.
So learning all different kinds of tactics makes you want to implement all different types of tactics. You're going to use social media, you're going to use a podcast, you're going to use email marketing, you're going to use all these things, but then without the focus on one strategy,
Mhm.
use those things, you end up too diluted it on too many different platforms. So
Yeah.
I always say one platform, one offer, one funnel, if you even need a funnel at that point, before you can start implementing other tactics. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and having the right mix in terms of what that strategic goal is. So, like for example, I just completed a period as a interim CEO for a home services company, and there the strategies were not clear enough at the beginning to make the right tactical choices. But as you're emphasizing what strategy you're going after, making those choices of what levers to pull, and the tactics board made a lot more sense. So if your goal was to increase, for example, commercial sales, the list of tactics in the home services industry, now you want to clean and do work in commercial buildings and those things are very different, because the strategy of residential would require you to be the top pick in the Google mix, to do what they call LSA, local service. There's things like that. Whereas in the commercial side, they're not decisions that are made in a moment. They're decisions that are made based on a plan through the year, and you need to do a lot more prospecting, a lot more nurturing, and those types of things. So you're talking about two different markets. If you as a company are between the both, you almost need two separate teams to do that. But again, the selection of tactics to go after that commercial client is completely separate with a tiny overlap to what you're doing to go after that residential client.
Do you see a lot of companies struggling with that when they have two different markets or two different ideal clients? I mean, that sticks out to me right away.
Yeah, there was an industrial client that I worked with several years ago that was very niche. There's a very specific list of the companies that they could sell their products to, and they were investing huge money in basically SEO and Google Ads and this kind of stuff to be out there. And although eventually, if someone happened to be searching for what they were, they would be found. But if you have a defined list of who your actual customers are,
Yeah.
there are much better tactics for dealing with them, whether it's something as simple as getting them into the newsletter, email, LinkedIn networking, being a speaker at a convention, setting up and doing trade shows specific to those industries. There's all of those things. But the last thing I would spend money on is having people find me on Google.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting after doing it all these years that if somebody said, oh, there's only 10 companies in the world that could use my products or services, wow, that's super easy.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, if we know who those companies are, it's very easy to find who's in charge of writing the check and figure out how we get in front of them. That's so much easier than random SEO.
Yeah. And then there's others where, your people don't even know you exist in a market that you've got players that are spending millions of dollars to be the brand of record. I mean, it goes back to the old days. Finally, people reach for a tissue. They don't necessarily reach for a Kleenex. But, if you're up against somebody in the market where they are the incumbent and everyone speaks of the product by their name, then it's a very different strategy to find your place in that market and where you can play and where you can grow, and picking the right tactics so that you can prove that you've got that competitive advantage that they may not.
Well, that's the principles of, category design, really helping you have that unique ability and your unique talent stack and what makes you different than the current choice in the marketplace. For one of my clients, it was something so simple, to compete with some major players in the productivity coaching and consulting space, the thing that made my client different was the fact that he actually worked with you one-on-one, talked to you every day for 8 weeks. The major players never even talked to their clients. It was, automated courses or online webinars. And I mean, as soon as I did the research, it was like this light bulb moment that's the factor that's going to make you stand out with a key executive. Oh, your team actually gets to work with me, not some automated thing. And that increased his pricing tremendously when you know that.
Yeah, there's an example in the industrial packaging space where we were looking. It was a company that they weren't a pipsqueak. They were a substantial company, but they were competing with Fortune 500 major funded multi-billion-dollar industries. And it was interesting that they had a really good book of clients and they wanted to grow the business. And when we did the market study, why do you do business with these guys? We talked to people who've been doing business for 20 years with them. We talked to people who use them as a second source. And we talked to people who had left and gone away. And the one theme that came out of all of the questions that we asked was, what would get you to do business with these guys? They answer the phone. They answer the phone. When we have an issue, we need their product and we ordered wrong. They're the only ones who can get us within a week what we need. Everybody else, it's months out. They had a competitive advantage of flexible manufacturing and the actual personal touch that was needed in the market. We had stories of one of the major competitors. We had a load of their product that arrived and it leaked. And it took 3 months to get through their system to get those drums, the product replaced. So when we started to market this company as the responsive, customer service focused, people focused, flexible manufacturing guys in the market, all the buyers understood what we were talking about. We didn't have to do the typical thing, which is, bad mouthing the competition, which I refuse to do. But in that, we grew the company. The idea was to scale the company. It ended up selling for about $8 to $10 million more than the expectation because they had more than doubled in less than 2.5 years based on they answered the phone. What a great competitive advantage. They had
something so simple that you could easily be overlooked when you're trying to set yourself up as different in the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Very few people would look at a detail like that. Mm-hmm. So good job on that one. That's amazing.
That was one of the big accomplishments in the last 10 years. Yep. It was a great project. But
yeah.
And the other side of it is, from the memorability of your brand, you can also be very memorable for being bad at it. There's what's that back, I guess it was about 2 years ago, there was that company Movie Pass came out. And they destroyed the market because the entire premise of the business was bad. And now they've come back with what seems like a better business model. Nobody's buying. Anyone who had any memory of that particular brand and was that they screwed everybody over. And now they're coming back under the same name with the same branding and wondering why they're not able to succeed. Because they have advocates for not doing business with them.
Well, that's a great reminder that networks of people talk about bad behavior or, not being worth the price or getting ripped off or any of those negative stories.
Yep.
Those negative stories travel faster than any goodwill you could possibly ever ask for. And people talk, oh, I worked with this company. You don't want to do that. And they tell the stories of being ripped off or taken advantage of. And in the online space, people really talk about negative stories. So that's really important to remember that sometimes bad press.
When we do market studies, one of the things I instruct the team to do, if we're looking at, we're going to look at a competitive landscape and look at all the people who compete with a client to see what the world's saying. Mm-hmm. I will put the name of, we'll just call it Acme Corp for not insulting anyone. Acme Corp sucks in the Google search. Acme Corp ripoff. Acme Corp and see what comes up to see what's really being said out there, and if those words have ever been attached with that company. as well as looking for the positives. And I think, and this is something that it gets misunderstood about me, but I think that you can learn just as much from negative situations and failures and ridiculous people than you can from some of the greatest mentorship in the world. The book that I've been working on for the last almost 5 years now, which relates back to my days when I was in international trade, is the title of the book is What We Learned from Shitty Bosses. And it's basically stories that I've collected from people in all of my international travel of the worst boss they've ever had and what they learned from those horrible behaviors.
Oh, I have a couple of the good stories.
Everybody does.
Days when I worked for somebody else.
Everybody does. But I used to fly like 300,000 miles. I was 45 countries a year was my typical year. 220 days on the road. Wow. And to get people to shut up on the plane and let me rest, I discovered after multiple attempts, everything from telling people that I made plastic liners for coffins to maybe gross them out and not want to talk to me, I discovered the hug and release method. Ask them a substantial question that shows that you're interested. And then you can say, well, that's great. You know what? I'm going to get some rest. And it worked. But the question I always asked was, what's the worst boss you ever had? I always collect bad boss stories. And I made notes of them over the years in my head and wrote them down and realized there was gold there for learning how to be a better manager, how to be a better employee. Yeah.
Truly. I love that. All right. Well, let's talk about my favorite topic is always, what book are you currently reading?
What book am I currently reading?
Yes.
Let's see. I've got it here. And it is not a business book.
Oh.
I'm rereading Martin Olson's The Encyclopedia of Hell.
Oh my goodness.
It's hilarious. It's a comedy book.
It's a comedy book.
It's a bunch of, it's hard to see. There's a bunch of glossary stuff in here of the premise is that this was the manual for demons to take over humanity, and someone translated it to English, and it's just very funny. This happens to me, but I'm
leave it to you to have something unique on your reading list.
Yeah, but I'm reading this, and also I was rereading I don't have it here. It's in the other room, but the 5-minute pitch.
Ooh, excellent.
Which is it's a brilliant book for if you're pitching stories. This is a guy who was in the reality television world who realized that most pitches that people are giving when they're trying to grow a business or raise money or whatever are just so, the death by PowerPoint, the elaborate things that put people to sleep rather than really honing it down to what it is that you offer. And I've read through it a bunch of times. I'm working right now on a pitch deck for the launch of a startup, and I went back through just getting ideas to go back and revise the actual deck that we're building.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
I love the idea of a pitch deck for my whole entire business. Mm-hmm. I just did one for a client. Had my team this beautiful pitch deck together for a coach and a consultant with all of his trainings and all of his offers, and really use that to increase his referrals. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be sending that to people like me who introduce him to other people. And it's really been an amazing, at least for me, it's been amazing to have my key referral partners have all that information about me. Now, a pitch deck for venture capital, totally different, but still just as fun.
Yeah. And what it really does is it helps you define and be more disciplined in the launch of the business and get rid of all the noise. It's so many people try to launch a business and they're trying to do too many things for too many people in too many ways. Mm-hmm. And one of the greatest things that can happen is you get in front of investors and the investors look at it and go, "What, are you nuts?" I read through this whole massive 300-page nonsense that you created, and I see one pearl. Come back when you're focusing on that.
Yeah.
Well, if you're putting the deck together properly in the first place, you won't have that experience.
Yeah. Any resources for that, shoot them over to me, because I'm always looking for good pitch deck resources. I've been going by one book forever. But
actually, some of the best resources are just some of the online sites, Score, and some of the organizations that help entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs get their first round. There's lots of templates and models out there that are great to read. I learned doing pitch decks by reading everybody else's and recognizing what worked and what didn't work, and using some online sources. And the other that's crazy, there's I can introduce you to some guys overseas that will take your pitch deck and like virtual assistants that are specialized in finance and pitch decks that then will take all of your stuff and refine it and make it look beautiful.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I've got a couple of resources that I use.
That's great. I like the 100 tasks program. I refer a lot of new startups to that because it's a step-by-step checklist. Do this, do this, do this. But what I found is when they get to the end of that 100 task checklist, they're not quite sure where to go. And that would really be useful for them.
Yeah. It always starts with any startup. If you can't tell me in less than a minute what problem you solve with your business, that's step one. If you don't have that, don't even try to put a pitch deck together. It's, if you're another burger joint, if your hamburger can't solve a problem that other hamburgers can't, well, why are you doing it? Are you looking to buy yourself a job, or do you actually have something that solves a problem? If you can solve a problem that people recognize, and there's really, I've talked about this all the time. There's basically three kinds of this. One is there is a recognizable problem. Everybody knows that there's a problem. And when I talk about that problem and my solution, they immediately recognize that this is it. The second one is I've solved a problem that you don't even realize you have until you see my solution. That's what the iPad, the iPhone. No one knew they needed that. But when they saw it, they were like, oh my God, I could schedule, I could do this. So, and then the third type of business is I'm solving a problem that nobody ever had, nobody ever will have, but it's kind of a novel thing. And maybe I can convince people that they need it. That's where all the novelty crap is in the market. It's the stuff you see at 3:00 in the morning when you're watching the overnight news because you can't sleep. And new way to put on your shoes, new way to open a can. Though that's a market I'll never play in.
Yeah,
I'm not interested. But if you can in those first two, the world has this problem. As soon as they see it, they're going to know that this is a solution. That's the easiest place to be. That's brilliant. The second is that if I'm clever enough to get you to recognize that you do have the problem when you see mine, those are the areas that you really want to play.
Absolutely.
But most of what you do, and it isn't about I love the arguments about what's an influencer, what positive, negative influence, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, what I'm doing with all the things that I post and otherwise is to give people a sample of who they'd be dealing with. And get their attention and get them somehow to get lured in to read without being that quirky crap on the internet where someone will write, you have to see what that celebrity looks like today, and then get clickbait kinds of stuff, which I don't do. So I've used all caps, I've used expressions and things, but I also
funny cartoons.
Oh, lots of cartoons.
Funny cartoons.
I use lots of cartoons, but again, the idea of that is if you notice, I'm taking something different than what the cartoonist necessarily had meant when they did their cartoon in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's what got me thinking because of the cartoon that isn't necessarily related with the cartoon, as sort of secondary thinking about how what you do affects in ways that you don't think about.
Yeah, that's that story framework. When you can tell a mundane, everyday story and relate it back to your business or a business lesson or, something that has to do with your company, and then have a call to action. Yeah. It's really a masterful thing when you can start to, because that's when social media becomes social and entertaining rather than the tactics we talked about.
Absolutely. And who's going to hire an outside strategic firm to come in that can't show that they have creative thinking in ways and work in ways that they don't currently work? I mean, when I was doing mostly work with distressed companies, you would show up and they would say, well, this isn't, this is what I'm recognizing and this is direction. Well, that isn't what we do. You will, if what you do works, why am I here? So a lot of that, the cartoons, the things that I'm putting out there where I'm showing a different angle on it is really about people recognizing that we do think differently and we do see things from different angles. And we're looking for that uniqueness that can help you grow your business.
I love that. That's the perfect place to wrap up and say, where does everybody reach out and get in touch with you?
I'm out there on LinkedIn. You can find me there. You can find me at fanglegroup.com. You can find me at scoursafe.com, a new startup that we're putting out. And occasionally you'll see my picture up on that little billboard at the post office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not the FBI one.
Not the FBI one. Share a little bit about the new startup.
Yeah, we're bringing a new chemistry to the market. It's a pH neutral cleaner that no sacrifice for exterior and commercial and residential cleaning. It's completely biosafe. All of the ingredients are EPA approved to be able to release direct into soil and water without any negative impact to the environment, without compromising anything. It'll outperform most of the really dangerous things that we're using every day.
I love it.
In the market, and it's going to be huge.
I love it, and I'm quite the environmental person, and I fully believe in what you're doing with that company. It's going to be an amazing differentiator in the marketplace. So
I'll tell you, this fits in, and as part of this is the wrap up. We deal with companies that, in many ways, don't seem to think that the environmental portion of it is meaningful at all. And we respond to them. If I can give you something at similar cost that removes all of the hazmat recording, all of the bureaucracy, all of the things that you hate, makes your employees safer, could potentially lower your workers' comp, all of these benefits, and you can make an environmental claim, whether you believe it or not, but your customers like it, wouldn't you want to do business?
Yeah.
And the answer is, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for your insights today and our connection and all the support over the years. I appreciate the engagement and the conversations that we've had and look forward to more. And thank you for being here on Unlock Your Way with STK.
And thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's always great to see you, Suzanne.
You too. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Unlock Your Way. I hope you found today's discussion inspiring and you're ready to take your business and personal growth to that next level. If you're feeling as fired up as I am and eager to unlock that full potential, I'm here to help you on your journey and provide that personalized guidance tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Simply book a one-on-one coaching call with me and we'll dive deep into your business aspirations and see how we could co-create a roadmap for your success. And whether you're striving to scale an enterprise or just getting started, I'm here to support you every step of the way. To schedule your coaching call, simply visit the website at unlockyourwaywithstk.com, click on the Book a Call button, and we'll turn your dreams into that reality. Subscribe and review on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. Plus, you can join over 800 entrepreneurs in the Idea Lab Facebook group. Let's make success as an entrepreneur happen together. Until next time, I'm STK. Keep dreaming big, stay focused, and most of all, have fun while you're doing it.